Welcome to Untold Stories of Central Minnesota. I'm KVSC Public Affairs Programming Producer Gracie J, and in today's installment, it's my conversation with Matt and Elisa Berry, the owners of Ember Coffee Company in Big Lake, Minnesota. Ember Coffee Company specializes in air roasting its beans. Matt and Elisa share how Ember Coffee Company came to be and how hospitality is at the center of everything. Well, I'm here with Elisa and Matt Berry, owners of Ember Coffee in Big Lake. How did you two meet? Because not only are you business partners, but you're also partners in life.
Long story short, our moms met in a church service. They didn't know one another. My family had just happened to be there. We were visiting from out of state, and there was a connection that was made between the moms. Elisa's mom shared how her daughter was going to be going to an internship in the state where we happen to live, and it was just like this hospitality of one mom saying to the other mom, well, hey, if your daughter's not going to know anyone, if she wants a place where she can have a meal, she can do her laundry, we'd be happy to open up our home to her. And that's what happened. The two of us were sort of like ships in the night. Elisa came to Kansas City at the time to do the internship, and I left to do a completely different internship somewhere else. We just barely interacted with one another, but that was sort of what started the connection of us knowing one another. And then a couple years later, she came to where my parents lived to visit my mom, and I ended up spending more time with her than my parents did. 3 months later, we were engaged, and
3 to 4 months after that, we were married.
Yeah,
we definitely don't let grass grow under our feet. That's when it comes to the way we do things.
It's been almost 20 years now.
Yeah. Matthew grew up in Kansas City, California, and then I grew up in Spain. A lot of my extended family is from this area, and we picked Big Lake. What was this, like 9-10 years ago? We were living in St. Paul in a tiny little 100-year-old house. We had just gotten another kid, and it was just too small, and we just kind of put a finger on the map. We're like, let's look up in this area, and it was just like we found a beautiful place, and we found a beautiful home, and we have just loved this area ever since. We have no plans to leave. We love Big Lake. We love the people. We love the land. We just know that we're planted here.
How did your shared passion of coffee become Ember Coffee?
When we set out to start a business, we weren't initially planning on starting a coffee shop. It's kind of like you're a toddler and you know that you're a walker, but you've never walked before, but you just know that you can do it. For us, we knew that we were business people, so then we were asking ourselves, well, what kind of business should we start? And by this time, we already loved Big Lake, and we were then asking ourselves, well, what kind of business does Big Lake need? And then what are we passionate about? And something that we're passionate about is just building community. That was a big thing for us. So that's kind of how we ended up with coffee. We had both worked in coffee shops when we were younger. For me, growing up in Spain, I've always been quite a bit of a coffee snob, it's just really good coffee over there in Europe. And so that's kind of how we ended up with the coffee shop. It's a way to build community. It's a way to build connection. And then kind of the roastery came along a little bit later in the process.
We were thinking about roasting coffee, but it was more of a long-term goal for us. Whenever you start something new, you never quite know what you're getting yourself into. One of my favorite quotes is Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. The first few months that we were open in the coffee shop, we got punched in the face many, many times. And I think that we quickly realized to be successful in business, you have to have more than just a dream. You have to make really difficult decisions, and you have to make them in very rapid succession, especially in the early stages. So we were still within the first year of having opened, and we realized, wow, okay, we have built the bones of an amazing coffee shop. I mean, seriously, I want to have a little bit of humility, but I think
just a little bit.
I think what we have, I think what we have in Big Lake is coffee that is better than most coffee shops in the Twin Cities. We are a specialty coffee shop, but what we realize is we are also in a town of 13,000 people. There's a certain limit to how many cups of coffee you can make in a day. We realized, man, if we want this business to be sustainable for the long term, we have to add additional revenue streams. And so through a very interesting turn of events, we basically made a connection with somebody who roasts coffee in a very unique way. It's called air roasting. He was from out of state, one of our dear friends in Rapid City. So we started air roasting, and he mentored us in the process. This friend, our friend Nick Reed, just showed us just extravagant hospitality. He didn't know us from Adam, really. I mean, he's become a dear friend. He really mentored us in the process. And then we started roasting on a very small roaster, not this big one. And for me, I'm a lifelong learner. I just love to learn. I love to pioneer and do different things. And so to Ember Coffee, we brought this new revenue stream of roasting coffee, which is now sold at like cafes and coffee shops. And we have people who have subscriptions online. I've spent over 25 years in IT and cybersecurity, sort of separate from Ember Coffee. I've brought a lot of my knowledge about process and automation and research to this. So we have this awesome coffee roastery and awesome product that we can provide to people.
Talk to me about air roasting, because it's a process that is not yet popular, only a very small percentage. Air roast coffee. What makes air roasting so unique?
Arguably, it's probably between 1% and 5% of all coffee in the world is air roasted. Air roasting was pioneered by a chemical engineer whose name is Michael Civitz in the late 60s and early 70s. Whenever you're roasting coffee, you take unroasted coffee, which is green. We call it green coffee. It actually does have a shade of green to it. And you roast it. And the way that you roast it, you have to apply heat to the bean in some form. And as that bean gets hotter and hotter, all of the sugars and the chemicals inside of the bean, there's a caramelization process that occurs. There's a lot of things that happen in the process of coffee being roasted. To take it from room temperature being green to roasted coffee that is brown or black, depending on how dark you like your coffee roasted. What happens with air roasting is basically instead of roasting the coffee by touching a really hot drum and allowing that contact with a hot drum to increase the temperature of the bean and roast it, with air roasting, the green coffee is floated on a bed of really hot air. So I think the best example that I give that most people can understand is you've probably grown up in a house, or your parents grew up in a house that had a popcorn maker, the little air popcorn makers where the kernels sort of spun around in the middle, and as they get hot from the air, they pop out. And that's a similar concept of what happens in air roasting. Coffee is floated on a bed of hot air that can be upwards of 550 degrees. And as the beans are floating and sort of jostling around, they're getting very evenly roasted. There's no scorching, there's no burning that takes place because the beans themselves are not touching any hot surface. One of the other benefits of air roasting is there's a vacuum that runs in this process, and as all coffee, whether it's air roasted or conventional, when it reaches a certain temperature, which is around 400 degrees Fahrenheit, there's a membrane on every green coffee bean that separates. And with air roasting, at the moment of that separation, it gets sucked out and is separated from the coffee for the duration of the roast. But with traditional coffee, what can happen is a lot of that separation, we call it chaff, some of it can continue to roast in the chamber, which can lead to sort of like a harsh acidity that bothers people's stomachs. We've never gotten it medically verified. I'm not a doctor, but we've had a lot of feedback from people who have said that we haven't been able to drink coffee for years, but we can drink your coffee. It doesn't bother our stomachs. I think that's something that's pretty cool, and also sort of a testament to just the way that we're wired. We're pioneers. We're always looking for ways to do things differently. So it's sort of cool to be a company that has been part of the story of bringing air roasting to Minnesota.
How did you decide on the beans then? Because I'm sure no coffee bean is grown the same based on factors such as like climate and soil.
So coffee comes from all over the world. We exclusively roast specialty grade coffee, which is about the top 1% of all coffee in the world. When we look at like what coffees we bring in, we have to think about what the flavor of that coffee is. We like to also connect with farms that are organic or are following organic practices. We want to make sure we're buying coffee that is ethically sourced so that the farmers, the growers at the heart of it all are not getting exploited. So there's a lot that goes into like the actual sourcing of it. And we have some really great relationships with like Cafe Imports, which is based in Minneapolis. We work with a coffee farm directly in Colombia where we do some direct trade work. Really like the way that we choose the coffee is based on requests that we get from people. It's based on the flavor profiles. What I find fascinating is that all of this coffee, it's all Arabica coffee, but depending on what soil the coffee plant is grown in, depending on the altitude, it changes the flavor notes and it changes the way that it needs to be roasted. All green coffee is scored on a scale from 0 to 100. And I was mentioning we exclusively roast specialty grade coffee, typically scored around 82 or higher on that scale. A lot of the coffee that you will find in a grocery store or at a large commodity chain will not be specialty grade coffee. So it's going to be maybe in that 60 to 80 range, maybe 50 to 70 range as far as the quality score. The lower quality score, what you find is that there will be more defects in the beans. Sometimes the beans will not be fully dried out and they'll sit in their containers in a hot warehouse. And you can find there's a number of different things that can happen. I mean, more commodity-based coffee will usually not be as aromatic. It can taste sort of flat. Sometimes it can be a little chemically. A big thing is people are starting to ask about molds and mycotoxins inside of coffee. So a lot of commodity coffee naturally sort of have those kinds of molds in it because of sort of the way it's just not processed and sort of cared for in the way that higher grade coffee is. All of our coffee is mold-free. We work with importers who do a very rigorous testing, to ensure that there's no presence of molds and mycotoxins. And actually, we're doing testing internally now to be able to say that our coffee is certified as mold-free. What we've always done in the past, again, like cafe imports, they have a very rigorous process, and we continue to rely on that as sort of a benchmark for quality. But recently, I just told Lori, hey, let's actually do testing ourselves. Like, I know that you're not going to find any mold in it, but now we'll actually have a certificate that says that it's verified as being mold-free because we do sell a premium product. Everybody spends money on something. Occasionally we'll have somebody say, what? Like, you're charging that for a bag of coffee? And it's like, okay, yeah, but, the same person's going to go down the street and, spend $9 on an ice cream cone or something like that. Yeah. So everybody spends money on something, but what's really important to us is to show people hospitality, but then also to provide a quality product. What goes into making a quality product is like making sure we're caring for the growers, we're caring for our customers and not serving coffee that has molds in it. We're trying as much as possible to roast fair trade organic coffee. We're almost finished with our organic certification as well. And it's like all those little steps along the way, like at the end of the day, it does result in costing more. But I think that there's a lot of people out there today that are willing to pay a little bit more because coffee is something that you're drinking. If you're like me, you're drinking it multiple times a day, right? And you want to make sure that what you're putting into your body is good quality and is not just like the cheapest thing that's on the shelf.
So off your menu, I know y'all serve seasonal drinks as well as non-coffee drinks. What is your go-to drink specifically served at Ember Coffee? Even more so, we all know my favorite drink here is the Old Schoolhouse, but for anyone new to Ember, which drink would you say is truly a staple of Ember Coffee?
It's hard to say because, like, for me, I like my café con leche. It's like our version of a flat white. It's like a latte, but it's just less milk, and I always get it with organic milk, and I don't like sugar, so that's all I ever get. But I will say, at least if you come in here to the coffee shop, we make our own syrups, and so, the Old Schoolhouse that you like, or Diane's homemade caramel, that's pretty good, too. That's probably the most popular one that we have.
It's the most popular.
The Humboldt.
We have found Minnesotans love caramel. They love maple syrup. They love bourbon. What we like to tell people when they come in is like, we are trying to train people in the area and in Minnesota to really enjoy high quality coffee. And so for most of our drinks, we say they're very coffee forward. They're not sugar forward. If you go to any of the popular chains in the area and you religiously go there, you're going to find that when you come to Ember Coffee, you may be like, oh, wow, that's not as sweet as I thought it was. But we really try to put our coffee on display in front and then carry in the back like the really good syrups and caramels that we make in-house.
Why have you also decided to make syrups in-house and not buy them from a warehouse?
I have always been one that's been able to taste if something tastes fake to me, then I don't like it.
She was a crunchy granola mom before there was the term crunchy granola mom.
There are things that if we just had an unlimited budget, I would do them even better. At some point, you have to draw a line and just be like, this is the best that we can do, But as far as like those syrups and stuff, that's real food. I can taste the difference. I just think it's like when you make something with love, like you can taste it. Like the caramel, for example, Diane makes that every week. I don't eat sugar sugar, but like if I did, I would just be eating that by the spoonful because it's so good. Also, cost, was a factor. We did the math and we're like, you know what? We think we can do this and make it work.
We believe as much as as is possible, we want to do things with excellence. Sometimes doing things with excellence is not cost effective, and so we have to sort of choose our battles there. But I think for us, our goal is not to displace the big coffee drive-through down the road. There's a place for everything. If you need a cup of coffee and you need it in 30 seconds or less, go to those places. But where we have really decided to draw the line is like, if you're going to come into our coffee shop, if you're going to buy a bag of our coffee, it's going to be something that we would be proud to serve guests inside of our home. We're not going to serve something that's in a cheap bottle of syrup with high fructose corn syrup. At Ember, you're not going to walk in and find a back wall with 90 different flavors that you can put into coffee. I'm sorry, we don't have blue raspberry. We don't have bubble gum. We have 10 flavors. We have our staples and we have a few that rotate, and that's just where we've decided to draw our line in the sand.
When it comes to those flavorings, how fun was it to craft those signature drinks, such as the Old Schoolhouse and the Humboldt?
Well, the Humboldt is actually the old name for Big Lake. When we first started, we had found out that Big Lake used to be like a gathering place. People used to go up by the lake, and there was like a carnival.
Yeah.
And it was
Carousel.
like people would come from like the cities. They would come all the way up here to spend the day, go to the beach.
It was a tourist attraction.
Yeah, it was
in
a
the
big
early
tourist
1900s.
attraction. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just sort of felt like the reason why we even chose the name Ember was because there was like an ember of hospitality that we wanted to kind of blow on, and bring back from those days. And so as far as picking out which were going to be the signature drinks and everything, it was kind of a bit of an experiment to see what people would like. What we have now that are our top drinks are the top drinks, mostly because those are the ones that people like. Although the Schoolhouse is fairly, you like the Schoolhouse. It's fairly popular. It's not nearly as popular as like the Humboldt, which is the caramel, but it's going to stay there because it's named the Schoolhouse, because we love the Big Lake Schoolhouse. So we have to leave something named after that.
I will take credit, though, for naming the Salty Canadian. We have a maple latte that has like black sea salt on top of it. We asked people, like, what should we call it? And we settled on salt. I was like, it's going to be Salty Canadian.
Well, and then I was worried. I was like, is someone going to be offended by that? But then we have a neighbor who's Canadian, and I asked her, I was like, would you be offended? You're Canadian. She's like, oh no, that's great.
You're listening to Untold Stories of Central Minnesota. I'm KVSC Public Affairs Programming Producer Gracie J, chatting with Matt and Elisa Berry, the owners of Ember Coffee Company in Big Lake. You mentioned the community aspect, and I can definitely see that in terms of naming your establishment Ember and naming one of your signature drinks, the Humboldt. How else does Ember Coffee extend its hospitality to the community?
You would be amazed at how many requests small business get to donate and to give all different kinds of, I don't want to alienate anyone, all different kinds of things. We have people who come in who have like never been to Ember and are asking for donations. I think one of the things that's really important to us, we really invest in the local schools and in the teachers. We offer like different discounts and coupons and stuff for the teachers and the students at Big Lake. Especially, I think that the teachers, they are sort of some of the unsung heroes in our community. They don't make a lot of money, and many times they're having to buy their own school supplies, buy things for, events and stuff for the class. And so we're a big believer in supporting the schools however we can.
The way that we extend hospitality or make a difference in Big Lake, I think the biggest thing that we do is making a space for people to be. We work really hard. We are not perfect. We do have an amazing team. I'm extremely proud of our team. It's something that I always tell my team, I'm never going to stop coaching about this because we always have to challenge ourselves. The minute that we stop talking about hospitality, the minute that we stop challenging ourselves to extend that welcome and make people feel like they belong in this space, that's when we're going to start going downhill. So we have to continue growing. I'm not saying that we're perfect at it. We have to keep working at it. But right now, I think that's a way that we are making a difference in Big Lake because people have a place to come and be, and it's a place that is pleasant where they can eat good food, have good coffee, and connect with others. There will be more that comes in the future for Ember. I think the last few years we've been really focused on just getting this business off the ground. There's just no shortcuts to building a team, a strong team. There's a lot that goes into it, but I think that in the future there will be more things that we do. We really do have a desire to make a difference in other ways as well, especially people that are being trafficked or people that have special needs. There are some different organizations that we would love to partner with, and I think we'll see more of that. But for right now, I think the biggest thing that we do is making that space. And then also, of course, we love teachers and we love the people that are serving our community, like first responders.
You said it really well, because while we do care about teachers and first responders, really at the heart of it is believing that every single person who walks through this door, I don't know your story, I don't know how your day's going, but you have value. It's not this trite, shallow cliche, oh, you have value, oh, we want you to be seen. We have this inner conviction that every single person who walks in here has a mark on them that is unique and is valuable and is precious. And we want to steward that. And so we tell people who work here, you don't serve coffee, you serve people. I think that's sort of the key of hospitality. And when we were dealing with very little kids in St. Paul, we would hire a babysitter that we really couldn't afford every week. And most of the time we would go to a restaurant in St. Paul. I'm very sad to say it's no longer there, but it was called the Strip Club, Meat and Fish. And we would go in there, and do you remember the name of the...
Christy was her name. I don't remember what his name was.
I don't know. Maybe if you guys ever hear this, wherever you are, reach out to us so we can say thank you. But there was an atmosphere in that place that we would walk in and we would just buy a burger. But during that hour we were there, it was everyone there treated us like we were royalty. And I think that that's something that is lost in our society today. Everybody moves so fast and everything is so transactional. It's what are you going to give me to meet my needs? And I think that when you can truly serve somebody from a place of confidence and a place of love and make them feel $100, to me, that's the reward. Now, yes, we'd love to be making money hand over fist. We're not there yet, but I think that there's a deep satisfaction in knowing at the end of the day, we're fulfilling the mission that we have, which is to have people feel seen and loved.
To bring beauty to every corner of our city. That's one thing I make all of our employees memorize. Our mission is to turn strangers into friends, serve the best coffee anywhere, and be a place that cultivates creativity and good works. We are more than a coffee shop. We're a community on a mission to bring beauty to every corner of our city.
Elisa especially, she works so hard to make sure that we bring the right people onto the team. Culture is something that's really important to us, and we have a great crew.
Yeah, we do. And ultimately, I think anyone that's listening to this that owns a business knows that, you don't build a business overnight, or at least most people don't build a strong business overnight. It really does take time to build something, and we are doing what we are doing because of a deep passion inside of us of knowing what we were made to do. And for us, we are people of faith, and we just know that we were put here to bring beauty to this area. And we love this area. A lot of people come in here and they're like, wow, you guys are look like you're killing it. And we are. We're doing well. I would still say we're a baby business, or maybe we're a toddler business. We haven't been in the business yet for 20 years or anything. We can't say that, but we're also not newborns in terms of businesses.
We have some scars.
But we're doing what we're doing because we know that this is what we were made for. And so it doesn't really matter if someone doesn't like something. It's we're able to kind of let things go. And people will always say things, I try to avoid social media because it's so easy to say something on social media than to say it face to face. So I try to avoid that because it doesn't help me to read that stuff. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that we're here to do what we were made to do, and that is to make a difference where we live.
One person at a time.
One person at a time. Yeah, it doesn't have to be big or flashy.
I'm curious, how has this business, cultivating it, growing it, making it into what it is today, challenged both of you individually and challenged your marriage? Because I can only imagine you have this partner in life, but your life partner is also your business partner. And so I can only imagine the growth you two have had. And I'd love to hear how this experience has been for the both of you thus far.
Lisa's looking at me. She's fishing for a compliment. When you find somebody that you really like, don't just go have fun with them. Like, go serve with them. Find somewhere where you can not just be with that person where you're looking at one another in the eyes, but you're like shoulder to shoulder doing something for the betterment of somebody else, whether you're religious or not. I mean, there are so many needs in a community, even like Big Lake. Find something that you can do together to serve somebody else other than just serving your own needs. What you find when you serve with somebody else is you really start to see who they are, because you can only put on a good face for so long. Like when you go on a date, you go for dinner and a movie or dinner and golfing, like, okay, great. Like you're both doing something that you enjoy and there's no resistance. And of course you're going to have a great time. And of course you're going to see all the best in somebody else. But when you serve with one another and you're working on something that's difficult, you really start to see who a person is on the inside and how they react when they're pressed and how they react when they're criticized wrongfully or they're just tired. And I think that like I've just learned through the years just how amazing my wife is and just who she is as a person. We are gifted in very, very different ways. I think sometimes we get on one another's nerves from a business perspective because we are so different. But I mean, I just love her more than I did before we opened.
We've definitely been pressed and stressed. And when you're in a difficult situation, what comes out of you when you're pressed is what's really there. You know, we've done counseling and we've worked on our relationship, but I will say I'm really grateful for coming out stronger through all of it.
I'm going to try not to go down a rabbit trail here, but like I think that when I was young, I had all of these grand plans. And if I would be really honest with myself, most of those plans involved me getting recognized by people for what I was doing. Lately, in the last few years, I just feel like there is so much reward and honor and value in just doing things for people one person at a time and like not caring who gets credit. I mean, of course, we're very thankful for like being able to be on the radio and all that. Like we didn't ask for it. We're just very thankful. But like there's so much value in just caring for people one person at a time. And I think that there are ways to change society on like a massive scale. I know we're not political. You know, some people get into politics. Some people, you know, advance like really big causes and they're out there and out front. And that's great. Like that's part of their story. But I just feel like the future of change, I really believe small is the new big. Caring for people one by one. Don't care if you get credit for it. Just do it in the hiddenness. Do it in your little patch in Big Lake, Minnesota, like Nowheresville, Minnesota that we love. I just think it makes a difference. And we just know that that's what we're called to do.
And trying to have integrity, like even with our team and stuff, trying to serve them. We don't do it perfectly, but just trying to serve them and showing each other grace and trying to get better at and letting them know that we're here to support them. And it makes a difference for everyone being able to work as a team. So
we're the ones on this interview, but we wouldn't be able to do this without Lori and Lily in the roastery and Annika and Annie and Diane, Ashley. Like we could go on and on and on. Yeah. It's really a team effort.
It really is.
If we could have brought all of them in here, like we would have loved to give them some airtime.
They would have been good ones to just talk instead of us.
They would have been like, they're actually not as amazing as you think they are.
No. Like, let me tell you.
No, but we're deeply thankful for the team that we have.
Do you have any goals right now of where you want to see the company strive in the next year, the next 5 years?
The first one would be for everyone in Minnesota to know about our beans. That would be a good one. Even if we could get the word out in Minnesota, which is our goal and it's what we're working on, it'll make a big difference for the business and for getting us to the place where we're more mature as a business and able to, you know, if you have a little bit more coming in, you're able to invest better in your people and you're able to do the things that you want to do. So I would say that's our biggest goal. Would you agree with that?
I'd answer it in a few different ways. Like we want to be a profitable growth company. That's a great place to work. That's something that's really important to us. We would like to be a Minnesota known brand for coffee. Being a small business owner, it is so hard. Unless you have owned a business, you have no idea how difficult it is. And so for that reason, like I would never in a million years ever want to displace another specialty coffee business like myself. Like I have so much respect for other coffee shops and people who roast coffee like us in the community in Minnesota. Minnesota is a really big state. And so like if we can displace some of the big coffee people out there, if we can get our coffee Yeah, the big chains. Like if we can get our coffee into Minnesota coffee shops, Minnesota cafes, get it into hands and people in Minnesota, like we don't need to make millions of dollars. I think we just want to grow to the point where we can leave a legacy for our kids. We can provide like an awesome place to work for our employees, and then know when like enough is enough. And it's like, yeah, we're good. Let's just carve out our little space in Minnesota and be successful. And then eventually not have to work 16-hour days.
You always like to say, Matthew, crawl, walk, run.
Crawl, walk, run. So we have a lot of big dreams, but we're still
at a time.
Yeah, just one thing at a time. Our mantra is we're building our ship at sea.
That's yours.
That's mine. It has this romantic ring. I'm building my ship at sea, but when you really start to think about it, you're like, actually, that's really uncomfortable.
This is how it works. This is my perception of how it works. So Matthew gets an idea and he puts it together, and then everyone is like, huh? And then I'm like, okay, Matthew, I'm your wife, so I have your ear. We're gonna sit down. We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna figure out the steps because no one knows what you're talking about. So let's figure this out. And then we figure it out, and then we run through various iterations of translating it and making a method, and then eventually the team is able to do it. And now, of course, we have like a bigger team, so we have other people that help us do that. But especially in the beginning, that was kind of how Matthew would start building the ship at sea, and I'd be like, I barely know how to swim. Okay, here I come.
You're not even on the ship.
Yeah. I think I do want to give a shout out to my parents. My dad, Jeff, we affectionately call him El Jefe. Our espresso is named after him.
He's the mascot of Ember.
And my mom, I think when I am old, I want to throw myself so wholeheartedly into the dreams of my kids like my parents have done for me. It's just something that's just so precious. Even my dad now, he's like 72, 73. He's our salesperson. He calls people like when they go up on the North Shore to like go on vacation, like he's pitching Ember Coffee to like every place that he goes to. And it's just a really tangible expression of love. And I think that but I'll just say, like, I'm just so deeply grateful for people who have so deeply poured into us and have loved us and have come behind us to, like, support us in this vision.
When we had nothing left to give, when we couldn't go on. I mean, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. Like, Ember wouldn't be a thing if it hadn't been for them coming alongside of us and basically doing whatever needed to be done to make sure that we could keep going.
Yeah. All of what they do, and like they've never asked for anything in return. It's just very selflessly loving. And
they get free coffee, but that's it.
But I think if anyone is hearing this, just to know like how deeply you can make a difference in somebody's life by just serving them and loving them from the heart. Money comes and goes, fame comes and goes, but like if you can make a difference in somebody's life, if you can leave a mark on somebody's life for the better, whether that's your family, whether it's like getting involved in the schools or helping veterans, but just like caring for people, just showing love. Like our society is just so fast-paced, me. The more that you can just slow down and just care for somebody else, like you have no idea how significant your impact can be in a person's life. Even just giving them a smile, like telling them the thing that you think that they know but has never been verbalized. Like you can make such an impact in somebody's life. I'm just thankful for the impact him and my mom have made in our lives.
Ember Coffee Company is located just off Highway 10 in Big Lake, Minnesota. For more information and store hours, go to embercoffee.co. Untold Stories of Central Minnesota is made possible through support from the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and has been produced at KVSC, a proud member of Amber's Diverse Radio for Minnesota's communities.